When it comes to stock investing, specifically investing in single stocks, in my opinion, it's very important not to pick favorites. Now, some of you have watched my channel a lot are like, bro, what are you talking about? You have favorites. And this is partly true. It actually is kind of true, and I need to work on some element of it. There's also a bit of a distinction, right? Of course, if you own a number of stocks, you're going to have some that overperform, some that outperform, and some that underperform. And you're obviously going to have a more positive opinion, at least in the short term, of those that are performing better. That is normal. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a little bit more extreme version of that, to where you're almost in denial of what a stock is actually doing. You can believe in a vision, believe in a product, believe in a company, believe in leadership, believe in a market, just the right timing for a market enough that you can miss the ball on what is happening with that specific stock. And it happens quite often. You see people, okay, so my first, no, I think it was my third or fourth video ever. When I was just starting YouTube, I had a nice mic, but I did not know the right settings, so it was still horrible sound quality. I'm still working on that. But I made a video on NIO, and NIO was like a YouTube, I think maybe Reddit favorite back in 2021. It went something from 5-ish a share to 20, I think it was like 25 a share. So like 5x in a year period, maybe even less than that. And there was a huge falling from that. And it was actually basically pump and dumped, and now we're sitting here. Actually, let's just take a look at it. It's kind of a ramble, and I wasn't even necessarily going to go here with the video, but let's zoom out a bit on this. Yes, it was at, 3 a share, all the way to, actually, it was even more extreme than I recalled, up to about 60, and then now today we're sitting at 4.3. So it just completely pump and dumped. But it was pumping, right? Let's do, about a year, 6 months. Yeah, I made this video. This is when I started my channel. I made a video on it. I'm like, I don't like this stock. You can go back and watch it. I don't see why you would. It's not particularly good video, but there's still people, 2 or 3 people in the comment section that were just like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You got to do it's never going below 5. This is our wit and blah, blah, blah. And they're still holding on. And I would nearly guarantee you those people bought in during COVID. Maybe they made good money on it. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they, let's say, bought some at 12, sold it at 60, made a lot of money, and then bought in somewhere around 12 again, and then now have lost a lot of money on it. I do not know. I'm just assuming, but that is a perfect example of being too bought into a company that probably really isn't going anywhere. Specifically NIO, it's a electric car company in China. So basically it has multiple things I hate. I hate Chinese companies. I do not believe they work like normal companies do in the West. Personal opinion, I will never buy Chinese companies. I believe they are basically the Chinese government decides who lives and who dies in that. And I want no business in that. If you want to, totally fine. You can make money on it. I'm not saying you can't. I hate generally vehicle companies. I don't cover many of them on this channel. Very low margins, a whole bunch of competition. You can mess up one iteration. It's just so difficult business. And then also, they're not profitable. So 3 things that I just generally want to avoid. I could not almost pick a stock I would want to invest in less than I would want to personally for that specific stock. But going back to it, you have to understand when things are going south, when you were wrong. So I really like TSM and AMD. TSM I've done very well on, even though it's gone back. It was at 226. It's at 180 now. All my shares, all of them are below 150. I don't think the point of getting into numbers is that important. I think my cost basis is way closer to 100 than it is 150, but I know for certain I've bought all my shares for, I think, 155 or less. So I've done well on TSM. I totally believe in the company. But there's a reason you have to believe in your stock, and it's different than just being a favorite because it is. The reason I really believe in TSM is not because, it went up from 110 to 180, right? It went from 110 to 220. I think it's going to bounce back. The reason I believe in TSM is because they have a monopoly on advanced semiconductors. One of the most important things in the entire world. They only have 2 competitors, Samsung, who is unprofitable and thinking about cutting down on it because they're doing so poorly in general, but even in that industry specifically. And then Intel, which 1 is not a good run company, and 2 hasn't even really started. Certainly not in the advanced semiconductor fabrication. They are not there yet. So near monopoly on one of the most important things in the world. So much so that if they blew up tomorrow, you just blew up all of TSM stuff. It didn't exist. They went to zero. Their world economy would absolutely be in a recession. 100%. 100%. NVIDIA would go, I don't know, it'd be a tenth of what it is at least. It would just be catastrophic. So that's why I, quote unquote, have TSM as my favorite. But it's not because of some arbitrary reason. And if things that started happening, it can make me change my opinion on it. For example, if they started losing market share to Intel and Samsung in a year or two, they really started picking it up. Their margins were falling. Companies in the industry were going up. Lam Research was up, AMAT was up, ASML was up, Intel was up, Samsung was up. But they were flat. They were down. That would be very concerning to me, and it would make me revisit my hypothesis about the company. So you shouldn't stick to favorites just because, it made me money or this or that. You can have stocks you really like and really believe in, but there has to be a concrete reason. There does. But also, when you have a reason like that, stick to it even when the stock price maybe isn't performing well, as long as the company is doing good. I've talked about AMD many times on this channel. It's easier for me because I'm still in the money on it now. Technically, to where it's gone again, around 100. If I would have bought something like the S&P, I would still technically be doing better. However, I haven't lost a crap ton of money on it. It's not like I bought it at 200 and it's all the way down. But the reason I believe in AMD is if you look at the financial side of things, and it's not as good on Schwab. I'm not pulling up Schwab today. They're a growing company. 2021, 16 in revenue. And you might say, yeah, income's down, but they're writing off some money and things like that. And they are hitting record quarters. And they're actually dominating the data center CPU market. They're absolutely kicking Intel's butt there. They have great margins on that stuff too. Their AI GPU stuff has been a little bit unimpressive, but it doesn't really matter in the long term. So the reason you gotta hold on when it's good and when it's bad too, if you believe in a company. But if AMD started shrinking, they started missing consistently on revenue, things like that, it would start to concern me, because the reason I hold this company is I believe in them long term, and they've shown consistently that they can grow the margin. 5 years doesn't look impressive. If you zoom out, they were near bankrupt here, but even if you go after that, 2017, you're still nearly 10xing, and not even that's more than 6 years, Ben. 8 year period. So it's still a company that's done very well. It really has. So it doesn't scare me too much, but don't pick favorites. If AMD was to start, like I said, just doing really poorly in terms of not the share price, but the company was doing bad. They started doing things I didn't like. We're really going to focus on embedded, right? Embedded's fine. They have a portion of embedded, but they're like, yeah, we're going to stop this we're going to stop this AI GPU stuff. We're just going to punt it, although I invested even before that was on the table in AMD. But if they started changing what they're doing as a company, things like that, you have to adjust. Don't just blindly hold on to a company because it did this for you, because it did that for you. If you want to make money. If you just like gambling and like, yeah, I'll throw some money at this, that's totally fine. Do whatever you want. I'm not telling you what to do. But as an investor, if that's the way you're looking at it, if you're wanting to optimize money and you have some stocks you believe in, hold fast to that as long as they're showing you what you expect. If they're doing vast deviations from what you expect, then you can adjust. But also take into account who around them is doing. I'm not saying the outliers, right? If you're looking at an AMD to an NVIDIA, yeah, AMD looks crap certainly recently. But NVIDIA isn't the norm, believe it or not, guys. That is not the norm. So if TSM's going down and everything else in the industry is going up, that's a red flag. You have to know. It's so hard, so difficult, because we have money attached to this, we have feelings attached to this. It's certainly, if you have a lot of money and things, that can be like, that's what I make in 3 months, that's what I make in a year, that's what I make in, that's 4 months of me working, and it just fell, right? It's gone from 200 to whatever it is. I have a lot of money in AMD. That's a lot of money for me from when it went to 200 to 100. But we have to do two things. We have to clear the emotion out of it. You have to, because if you don't, if you have too much emotion, you're going to get slaughtered one way or another. There's going to be a day and it's going to happen. To the good or the bad, whatever it may be. You buy in on something way too high, you sell something when it's low, and then it immediately, things like that. You have to get your emotions in check. It's so important. Anyways, I think I've rambled. This is kind of a rambly video. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe. I do daily stock content on this channel. I'll catch you next time.